It's the Ed Lover Show, y'all. It's Power 105.1. I got Usher in the building with us. Raymond versus Raymond in the stores. Y'all need to go cop that because you know how Usher do it. He bring it.
Stop playing. Get
all the way. 100%. My man is back on deck again. Now, how did it feel, man, living your life? Like, you've always been a superstar as far as music is concerned, but now your entire personal, super personal life was under a severe microscope. Like, it was different when you were dating Chili. We got a little, oh, Usher and Chili together, oh, Usher and Chili ain't together. But now, when you married Tamika and then you had your children, it was like super microscopic on your whole entire life.
There were a lot of changes, you know, that took place in my life, and a lot of people, opinions that came out of it, because I think people genuinely were concerned about me. But, you know, there was no need to be, in my opinion. This is growth. You know, I went through a growth spurt and have had to live my life in front of media and, you know, through the opinions, good or bad, throughout the years. It's been more good than bad before. People may not have necessarily understood my decision. They didn't have to. It was my own. And, you know, having, as I said, found, you know, an incredible moment in my life, you know, I was convicted in it and gave it my all. You know, I've talked about it in interviews about, you know, I kind of came to the point where I done did everything, you know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of living, having life's experiences, the greatest experiences, you know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And I wanted something that was a little bit more real, of substance, and I found somebody that was that to me. And, you know, as I said, people had an opinion about it, but, hey, that was their opinion, and, you know, I lived through it. And learn, you know what I'm saying?
It put a strain on your relationship with your mother for a while.
It put a strain on everything, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, you know, as much as we may say what people talk about us and say about us doesn't affect us, and really, for me, it doesn't as much because I've been living in it so long. But I think that, you know, that opinion does make it hard to kind of just navigate through life, because you ultimately want to do, you know, positive. And when people kind of project or paint a picture of you, you know, it's kind of bad. But you can't really, it's almost like arguing with, you know, the opinion of every person. You just got to live through your situation and just continue to be positive.
Because at the end of the day, you can't please everybody.
I wasn't trying to.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, as I was saying, you know, in a way, I kind of took a departure from what was normal for me in terms of how I moved, what I did, what the story was, what the perception of who I was at that time. Because I began to deal with things that I hadn't ever felt before. Having, you know, never had a serious relationship with my father. All of a sudden, he came out of, now I ain't gonna say nowhere, but I knew where he was. But my father, you know, kind of came back in my life, and my father's family came back in my life. So a lot of the decisions that I was making had everything to do about me as a man. I spent the last 18 years of my life building my career.
Right.
This is about the person. You know what I'm saying? And the decisions that I had made, and looking at, you know, what my mother and father's relationship was. And I ain't want that. You know what I'm saying? I wanted us to be cool. My mother and father were not as cool. My father was not in my life. So having made the decision, and my mother, and, you know, my mother's situation was what it was.
Right.
So I wanted to give it my all. I wanted it to be as positive as it could be for me, regardless to any opinions. And, you know, I kind of put my swag on pause for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And went to be the best man that I could to my wife, and you know, and the best man I could be for my children.
So is your swag back on deck now?
Hey man, my swag ain't never really left.
You say you put it on pause. Is it back on play?
Yeah, of course.
Hindsight being 2020, is there anything you would change, or would you have done things differently?
I wouldn't change a damn thing. Nah. Yeah, you learn and live through life, man. You ain't no mistakes. You know, God gives you what you can handle.
Would you do it again?
That's
of course.
You would marry again?
Of course.
I remember when I first got divorced, Usher, I was like, ain't no way in hell I'm marrying nobody again.
I mean, I said that for a little while, you know what I'm saying? And had some fun while I was saying it, you know what I'm saying? But nah, of course, you know, it's, you know, marriage is a beautiful thing, you know what I'm saying? But you have to be equally compatible. You got to be equally yoked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And understanding what life is for each other and be supportive. And, you know, I ain't going to be the first, and I most certainly ain't going to be the last person to get a divorce. Right. It just simply didn't work between me and her.
Right.
And, you know, we moved on, and very positive. You know?
Good. Usher in the building with us, man. See at Lover Show, Power 105.1. When we come back, we'll find out what does Usher miss most about being married and what does Usher like most about being newly single again. See at Lover Show, y'all. It's Power 105.1.
Yeah.